Today, the City of Mission approved $68,000 in funding to the city's Historical Society. Now, some of that money is going to be used to create a strategic plan to prepare for Mission's longtime archivist, Val Billesberger, to retire. She has run the archives for 30 years. She's also taken on major positions at the Historical Society and the Mission Museum to keep them up and running. And Val is on the line with us right now. A very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, too.
Also with us is Mark Haney. Mark Haney is Mission's Arts and Culture Manager. Hi there, Mark.
Hi, good afternoon.
Now, Val, let's hear from you first. What can you tell us about the work that you have been doing in Mission over the past 30 years?
Wow, that's a pretty big question to answer.
I think so.
I would just say, in general, just plain, and I feel privileged to have played a role in preserving and making accessible to the public Mission's heritage.
Yeah, well, you manage the museum, which is also under the banner of the Historical Society. You run programs there. You're the de facto head of the Mission Historical Society. And I guess after 30 years, you'd like to retire. Why haven't you made that step so far?
Very good question. The plan was last year. Last year, though, things kind of went a little sideways. The museum had a restoration project going on, and we had staffing issues. And so I just couldn't leave. There just wasn't anything in place to have somebody take over all the different roles that I was playing. And this funding that was approved today is going to pave the way for us to have an executive director, much needed to help the society carry on and continue into the future. It's 54 years old this year. That's how long the society's been around doing this.
Wow. Now, Mark, I'd like to bring you in the conversation. I know it's tough to get Val to toot her own horn here. What can you tell us about the kind of impact that her work has had on the community?
The impact Val's work with the Community Archives, the Historical Society, and the museum is vast and so far-reaching and alive. I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is it doesn't just live in the museum or live in the archives. It's out in the community. It's wrapping hydro boxes in historical photos. It's the giant historical photos in the enclosure of the swimming pool, street banners, events. It doesn't end. It honestly doesn't end. And Val just makes history and heritage a living, breathing, vital part of the community. And I believe that's what Council reacted to today.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're lucky to have her. But what would happen, Mark? What would happen if she decided, no, I'm retiring, then you didn't have a plan in place?
It would be a very, very difficult situation. The Mission Historical Society is a really important partner, especially for arts and culture, but the city as well. And we really need to make sure there is a transition and a strategic renewal that ensures the work that has been done is safeguarded and can continue to evolve and grow and expand from here.
Okay. Well, Val touched on this a little bit, Mark, but what more can you tell us about the funding that the city just approved?
It's a very, very tough budget time for Mission, as it is everywhere. And we're really, really fortunate that this council decided to increase the core funding we give to the Historical Society. So this is a very sizable increase to their fee-for-service grant, which is essentially an agreement between the city and the Historical Society that we are paying you to perform the following services. And this is enough of an increase that the strategic planning process for what comes next when Val actually manages to be able to retire can really be undertaken and planned for.
Right. Now, Val, do you have counterparts in other cities that are going through something similar to what you're experiencing? Funding issues and just having someone who's kind of holding it all together?
Yes. Well, for example, I understand the city of Maple Ridge, they had their archivist position. This is through their historical society, was funded just for a certain period of time, and that funding ended, and that position is now vacant because they have no money to pay for that position. So this is not just unique to Mission. I think there's a lot of historical societies throughout the province that are struggling with the economy and all the issues we're facing with volunteerism. And these are the things that societies, historical societies, have really depended on for so many decades. And that's all changing.
Mark, do you want to weigh in here as well, just to how it is changing and what kind of wake-up call this could be for municipalities?
The things Val was talking about are really prevalent across the arts and culture ecosystem, and that is a lot of the volunteerism is still being done by the people it was done by 30 years ago, but now they're in their 70s and 80s, and there isn't going to be much time, and the generations behind them don't have the same engagement with volunteerism. So there's a real gap, not only in volunteers actually running programs, et cetera, but also on the governance side. And that's sort of sector wide and something that everyone is struggling with. Just a lot of our, especially in smaller centers, a lot of our nonprofit boards are really aging out, and there's not a lot of great answers for what's going to come behind them.
Right. So, Val, you obviously care very deeply for your community and these organizations that you're involved in. What needs to be in place, Val, in order for you to have a peaceful retirement?
Well, my plan is to have a solid foundation so people stepping into the position at least have a sense of the scope of the work, and that means having basic things that are, a lot of the knowledge is in my head, so it's getting it written down and having it in place, and also having a transition period where I will be training the executive director and the new archivist, and also the new vision we're developing for the museum, which is still in the draft stages, but we have to be responsive to what the community wants today, and that's an important part of keeping history relevant, or if you want to call it heritage, is being responsive to the needs of our public.
Well, and Mark, what's your hope for that transition from Val to someone to hopefully step into her shoes?
My biggest hope is that we can continue to be partners between the Historical Society and the city. Val has been an amazing partner, and the current board as well. We've worked together really well over the last couple of years, developing this vision and working towards getting this funding increase. So I just want the new person to feel as welcome, and we have as good a partnership. That's my biggest hope.
Well, I want to thank you both very much. And Val, we wish you well, and we hope that as retirement looms, that you can find that peaceful place eventually. Thanks to you both.
Thank you
very much.
That's Mark Haney, the Manager of Arts and Culture for the City of Mission, and Val Billesberger is the Archivist and Records Manager for the Mission Community Archive. She has been running the show there for 30 plus years.